You might have seen the FedEx logo 1,000 times, and you might have missed that arrow 1,000 times. So that's what it's all about. It's about waking up. It's about looking for the circumstance that you want. See, the average person will look at that FedEx sign and overlook the arrow. But if you know what you're looking for, you're going to see it every time. So once you see the arrow on the FedEx logo, every time, this is the way the mind works. Every time you see that FedEx logo, your mind is going to wonder if that arrow is still there. And guess what? Every time you look, that arrow is still going to be on the box. And that's what it is in life. You may look at a situation, you may look at a circumstance one way, but you always have to ask yourself, is there another way to look at the same thing? If I put a diamond in the middle of this room and I ask everybody to tell me what they see, everybody will see the same thing, but they will see it in a different way. So it's all about your perception. You got to see, how do you perceive things? Do you look at something and say, this is impossible, and you quit before you even get started? Or do you change your view? Do you look for that arrow in the circumstance that you're looking at? Do you look for the right way in the circumstance that you're looking for? It's always going to be there. It's always going to be there. Like I said, when you learn how to look for something and you learn what you're looking for, you're going to see it every time you look for it. Every single time you look for it. So I'm going to go to the next steps. After you have a burning desire, after you know what you're going to sacrifice, and after you write it down, what do you think the next thing you have to do is? Take what? Take steps towards your goals. I like that. Take chances. Take chances. If you study any successful people, any successful person will tell you it's about taking calculated risk. You got to take some kind of risk. If I take a step, anybody remember playing on the monkey bars when you was a kid? And you hold on to that bar and you gotta let go to grab that next bar. You got to hold on, or you got to let go to grab that other bar. See, some people are so scared to let go, to take that step. But after a while, when you start playing on the monkey bars, you learn how to skip. You know what I mean? So you get good after a while. You start getting good at letting go. And that's what you got to do. You got to take that chance. You got to take that chance to get out of your comfort zone. Everybody gets in their little box. And it's hard to step out of that comfort zone sometimes. But guess what? If you want to be successful, that's what you have to do. You have to be able to step away from the pack. You can't get lost in the crowd. See, that's what so many people do so many times. You get lost in the crowd. But you got to be able to step out. You got to be that person that says, I'm going to take action. And I'm going to keep on taking action, and keep on taking action, and keep on taking action until I get what I want. Until I wake up that morning and find what I want. If I wake up and I don't see the circumstances that I want, I gotta make it. Some kind of way I gotta make the circumstances that I want. And that's the attitude you have to get into. You have to make the adjustments in life. Mr. Kitchen said that last week. You have to be able to make the adjustments. MTA, make the adjustments in life. So when you start taking that action, that's what you're going to do. And the next one is say it out what? Say it out loud. Say it out loud. I learned this one from Muhammad Ali. You know, Muhammad Ali used to always tell everybody, I'm the greatest. I'm the greatest of all time. I am the greatest. And he told people that so many times that he didn't have a choice but to believe in himself. And I'll tell you how that works. Everything begins with a thought. Everything in life begins with a single thought. And like I said, when you start exercising that thought, your thoughts begin to be the things that you say. When you say it out loud, you begin to reinforce it in your mind. That's just the way the subconscious mind works. It just records all day. You got the conscious mind and you got the subconscious mind. And what the subconscious mind does, the subconscious mind does nothing but record. The conscious mind is the one that says, okay, this is a situation I don't want to be in, so I got to make another choice. But the subconscious mind, is all it does is record information. And what it does is eventually, after you start to say those words become what you do. And when you start to do those things over and over and over again, what you do becomes your habit. And see, when you get to the habits, anybody ever had And there's both. Everybody knows that you can have good habits and there's bad habits, right? Everything you do, because of the nature of our being, we create habits. Every day we create habits. So we start to do things that we don't even notice that we do. It might be something when you play cards, you might give your hand away. It may be something as simple as, you scratch your face every when you get nervous. Everybody forms habits, but everybody doesn't recognize those habits that they form. And so they just do them without thinking, because that's the way the subconscious mind is set up. By repetition, it learns what to do without you even thinking about it. You make reactions and you make moves without thinking about it, because the subconscious mind has recorded it so many times that it's a habit. Now, the only way to replace a habit is you got to replace it with another habit. So when you recognize, when you sit back and look at your thoughts, and you look at your words, and you look at your actions, you have to say, am I on a course to create good habits in life? And that's what it's all about. It's making those habits. Because again, those habits are going to become your character, and your character is going to lead to your destiny. What do you think the last one is? Where you are. Blank where you are.
Know where you are.
Know where you are. Know where you are. Evaluate where you are. That's all goal setting is. It's all three of these steps. And then when you get to the last step, you start all over again. But the last step and the first step are exactly the same. And then you have to know where you are. If I give two people the same direction to the same place, and they're at different places, somebody's going to end up at the wrong place, right? So it's specific to the person. You have to evaluate exactly where you are in life. So it's not going to be the same course. So the same course that somebody else might have taken to get to where they need to go might not be the same course that you have to take. You might take an easier route and still get to the same place because of where you are in life. You may be ahead of people. You may be ahead of where someone else started off in life. But you have to know where you are. That's the only way you're going to get to where you're going. I can say go down, make a right, make the second left, and make a right, but it depends on where you are. If those directions will work for you, right? It all depends on where you are. So you got to think about where you are. You got to think about where you want to go, and then that's when you begin to set your goals. You start back over again. You reevaluate your desires. Because through life, circumstances happen, things happen in life, and it causes us to change the way we think about things. It causes us to change the way we look at things. And then our objective changes, our desires change, our passions change. But when we know what we want, and when we continue to set those goals and know our desires and set those goals and continue to write them down and continue to evaluate or assess what we're willing to give up. Like Mr. Kitchen said, everybody has to give up something. There's nothing in life for free. There's nothing in life for free. Everybody has to pay something. Everybody who's come before us has paid some kind of price for us to be where we are today. So it's about that legacy. Anybody know what a legacy is? Was it? Say it again? What you left behind. See, a lot of people think legacy is leaving money. If I'm a father, sometimes, exactly. Sometimes when people think, if I'm a father, I'm supposed to pass on my legacy, which is my money, to my son. The best thing a father can give to his son is not his money. The best thing a father can give to his son
is how you get it.
Exactly. It's not so much what you give to them, because once you give, it's gone. They'll never get it back. But see, once you start to think, once you teach that person how to think, they'll get theirs on their own. I believe you can sit a person on this earth, and that same person can make millions over and over again. I believe a person that can start off in this earth, make $1 million, lose it all, start over several times. But the only way you can do that is if you have the formula. The formula never changes. The process is still the same. You have to know what you want. You have to have that burning desire. You have to write it down. You have to know what you're willing to give. You have to take action. You have to evaluate. All these things, it's the formula. It's just the formula. Once you learn that, it's the same, it's doing the same process over and over again. See, but I'm gonna tell you what happens in life. When you go out to the mailbox and you pull out that bank statement, or you start to see those bills, people start to associate that as who they are. When you look at your bank statement and your bank statement only says $10, you start to associate that as who you are. It doesn't matter what your bank account says. That doesn't tell you who the man is. The price on your bank account, your price on your bank statement does not make who you are. What you drive does not make who you are. What you live in, your house, does not make who you are. Because all these things, again, can come and go. All these things can come and go. But until you get the process down, until you know the steps of achieving these things again, then you start to live, again, like Muhammad Ali said. He said, when he said, a man's wealth is not in his bank account. A man's wealth is in his wisdom. A man's wealth is in his wisdom. So once you get the wisdom, you can make the wealth over and over again. Same process. It's about grinding it out. It's about knowing the process. It's about going out and getting what you want to get. But you can always take the easy way out. You can always blame your circumstances. You can always blame your circumstances for who you are, for what you've become. Or you can take the high road and say, regardless of my circumstances, and this is how you can look at it. This is one way you can look at it. You can say, has someone else in my same circumstances, has someone else come from where I come from, lived the way I live, had the things that I've had, and despite that, still make it. But people make excuses. That's basically what they are. People make excuses of why they don't have what they have. Why they don't have what they have. There's always somebody who's going to help you. Someone's always going to help you through that path. But you got to be willing and willing to learn. You got to be willing to follow specifics. And this is what it is. This is all we're talking about right here. But these 6 things, when you set your goals, these 6 things is what's going to begin to set patterns. These things are going to start to make habits. And you see, once you start to make these habits, you're going to be on the course to success if you're making successful habits. But if you're making unsuccessful habits, that'll play out too. Like I said last week, a man gets in life not what he wants. A man gets in life what he is. The way you think. When you think about something, that's what you become. That's a man thinking in his heart. So let's see. So there's something I want you to think about. I want you to remember that FedEx spot. Every time you see that FedEx logo, I want you to remember that arrow on that FedEx logo. And I want you to say to yourself, am I looking at this the wrong way? Am I missing something? What am I missing, John? Is there something that I'm overlooking? Find the circumstances that you want. Find the circumstances that you want, and you will be successful. I'll bring Mr. Kitchen up and wrap it on up.
So we've been told that you guys are getting ready to go on break for a little while. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So before you guys go on break and as we get ready to close up, I want to ask you, do you mind if I share something personal with you guys?
We don't mind.
Huh? You don't mind?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. One of the things I have done as a motivational speaker, I have a speech called Pride. And I use it with athletic teams because the first thing I do when I talk about the word pride is I tell athletes, you can always tell whether a person is ready to perform by looking in their eyes. And I would get to them and I would just look in their eyes. And I can tell.
Well, I got baseball game Saturday, so you can see in my eyes. I'm ready.
We don't really care about baseball. So,
Still don't get me something.
Just by looking right here, whether or not you're ready. Now,
Chairman.
You can tell a lot about somebody who don't like to make eye contact with you.
You got something to hide.
But when you look right here in a man's eyes, you can look into his soul. You can look into his head. So, when I look at you guys, I look at you like a team tonight. I look like you guys are getting ready to take a break, but you guys need to be getting ready for life. Now today, my dad was a football coach here in Jacksonville. He was a football coach in Jacksonville. And if you ask Mr. Allen, who played for him, you'll get a different comment from Mr. Allen than what I'm going to give you. He played for him. I was his son. We looked at him differently, but we looked at him the same. I looked at him as my father. He looked at him as a coach. Now, in the course of my father's 20 years of coaching me, he won a couple of state championships. He won a lot of conference championships. What his players would tell you is he helped to make them men. He helped to make them men. Each one of you are on the path to becoming a man. Now today would have been his 88th birthday. Today. When I saw my mother today, she was like, "Did you know it was your father's birthday today?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know." 88. But he is not here. See, God called him to that greater football field up in the sky about 5 years ago. And the day he passed, I thought about the players and the coaches that he was going to be reunited with in heaven. Now it's sad when we lose someone. We hurt. We grieve. We have some pain. And thinking about him today has caused me to reflect on my life and whether or not my father would be proud of me. Because see, as a son, you only want to do one thing. Please your father. Make him proud. I'm still trying to make him proud. Still. Because see, when you have a father who has kind of etched his name in the stone, and you're that offspring, people expect you to do certain things. They expect you to act a certain, they expect you to be like him. They expect you. They don't ask you. They don't tell you. There's just an expectation. What kind of son would I be if I let my father down?
Just loyal.
What kind of son would I be? So when I'm in these settings, I think about him because as a coach and being in these settings, he's trying to get guys ready to play a game. And it's no easy thing preparing yourself mentally and physically to get ready to play a game. Your game is getting ready to be life. Whether you're successful or not is up to you. How much time you spent doing the extra stuff. This young man said he's getting ready for a baseball game. What position you play, young man?
Shortstop.
Shortstop. How many ground balls you take a day?
32 at least.
At least. And then you stop?
No, keep going.
So you take more than 32. 50. 100.
Not that much.
Not that much.
Some will go up.
Okay. How many at bats you take in the cage?
About 3.
My point is, the more time you put in, the better you'll get. Is that correct? The more time you put in, the better you're going to get. So my time with you, last week and tonight, am I boring you? So, as I think about him, I think about each one of you. I think about each one of you. What kind of man, or what kind of man are you going to be? While I'm still trying to please my Father, I'm proud of the man I am because I've been able to accomplish things. I've been able to go places and do things. But my greatest accomplishment is being able to speak to young men about becoming men in life. Anybody ever made their mother cry? Good and bad, right?
Good.
But for the bad, because I know what the good is, that's tears of joy. But for the bad, did you ever go back and tell her you were sorry? Huh? Did you ever go back and tell her you were sorry? Mom, I love you, I'm sorry. See, it's hard for men to tell their fathers. It is. It is. It is. Men have a phobia. I don't know what it is. I don't have that phobia. I don't have that phobia because I can say that to, I can say that to Mr. Casey. I can say that to each one of you. I say that to my sons. Because I know there's no greater gift that I can give them than loving them. And while my father may not have told me that, well, I didn't hear it, I know he did. But when you're a little shorty, boy, Dad loves you more than anything in this world. Now, when my youngest son was before he was born, this is what the question is when you're getting ready to have a child. Well, what do you want? What do you want? And men will tell that great big lie, oh, I don't care what it is as long as it's healthy. Yeah, right. What does a man want? A son. A man wants a son. So when you are small, that connection, that bond between you and your father is something great. And sometimes it gets off track and you don't get back to it until later on in life. And then sometimes your father might be taken away from you and you never got a chance to tell him you love him. So I'm going to challenge each one of you tonight, since I'm sharing my personal testimony. Since my father's not here, and being that it will be Father's Day Sunday, since it will be Father's Day Sunday, if you do have a relationship, if you do have a way to contact your father, I'm challenging you. Call your father Sunday and just tell him you love him. Don't do it for his sake, do it for you. No matter what he may have done or not done. Anybody see the movie Gridiron Gang? Y'all remember the scene where after the guy got shot, The Rock and the running back and having a discussion? Remember what that question was he asked him? He said, man, you know, Rock told him, don't let people have that kind of control over you. He said, my father didn't love me. He said, well, when did you forgive your father? When did you forgive your father? That was the question he asked him. Now, they done cried together, and The Rock had to think about that. Because up until that time, he did not forgive his father. He did not have love for his father. He was still harboring some ill will. So he said, when did you forgive your father? He said, not until just now. So you have to forgive give in order to love so you can move on with your life. So, being that it is Father's Day, and being that maybe some of you are fathers or some of you will be fathers one day, and the greatest thing you will ever give your son is your love. Unconditional. If you don't call him, pray for him. And if you don't know how to pray, you need to learn. If you don't know how to pray, you need to learn, because it's a funny thing about prayer. See, they've taken prayer out of the schools because they say, you know, that's not right. We shouldn't have that in the school. But as soon as the school gets shot up, the first thing, who the first person they call them? Oh, Lord, can you help? You took prayer out of school. So again, I'm just asking. I'm not saying you got to if you don't want to. That's between you, your father, and the man upstairs. But if you can be man enough to do that Sunday, I guarantee you, you're going to feel a whole lot better about yourself. Because this will be the first time you have to answer the bell on doing something like that. Because one day, if you have a son, if you're so blessed to have a son, you're going to want to hear your son tell you he loves you, and you need to tell your son you love him. Because guys, if you don't have a father, I'm going to tell you right now, I'll be your father any day you want me to. I love each one of you, unconditional. I don't even know your background or where you're from, but I know one thing, you're here and you're not out there. You're here and you're not in that building down on Bay Street. You're here and you're not wearing an orange jumpsuit. You've been blessed to not have to go through some things. You better think about it. You better think about it. Life can turn real quick. You could be in the car with the wrong guy, the next thing you know, things change. It's Father's Day, guys. Show some love. Have some respect. Do something toward taking that first step of being a real man. Show some love and forgive, and just show some love. You might be surprised. You might hear, "I love you back, son," on the other end of the phone. Or if you see him in person, you might be surprised. You might break him down and make him cry. You just never know. Guys, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your listening. I hope each one of you, if you're going home for a few weeks, you go home and return safely. If you are coming back, I hope you find a better you when you leave here than when you got here. I pray that God has favor on each one of you to keep that